Hi, and welcome to this module on the role of food intolerance in migraine, vestibular migraine management. So this can be a really big one, and for me this was huge. And nobody ever really discussed this with me and sort of even made it an option. I once had a neurologist say to me, oh, have you considered taking out cheese and chocolate and watching your caffeine intake? And that was as far as it went. So this can be really hard to identify, and I've touched on this in other modules as well, but I'm just going to go over it again. So food intolerance is very different to a food allergy, and sometimes our food intolerance can be not easy to pinpoint, and sometimes you won't necessarily get any of the traditional symptoms. So I'm going to give you an example. For me, when I tested myself, and I'd got so far with this, and then I decided, because of my training and everything that I was doing, I often use myself as a guinea pig, which has been super helpful for me over the years. So I did this test on myself, and I was eating lots of really healthy things like flaxseed, things like chia seed, and things like seaweed, or seaweed type products. And a lot of this stuff is in healthy food. So we kind of automatically assume it's going to be okay for us. However, when my testing came back, what did I have? I had peas. Well, this was the highest, and the highest score. And I would never have apportioned peas in a million years. I also had flax, I also had chia, and I also had one of the biggest was seaweed and seaweed products. So this I would have never have found in a million years, and some of my supplementation had seaweed product in it, and I was also having dulse in a smoothie, for example. And so when I identified these things, I was like, oh, so I took them all out and I made a huge stride forward. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean to say that just because they've come up on a test, and like I say, this test isn't to tell you everything that your body is going to be absolutely happy with and everything that it's not. It's measuring a certain immune reaction, an antibody response reaction to certain foods when you've ingested them. And this can cause a whole host of symptoms. So it may not just be digestive, and for one, it can be headaches and migraines, for example, but it's causing inflammation in the body, and that can lead to a number of things. So it may be like a histamine response, it may be food rash, like rashes on your body, it may be everything from like a respiratory issue. There are so many symptoms attached to this, so it's not always easy to identify, and certainly with migraine, it really is quite hard. So I really do recommend doing one of these tests if it's something that you're considering or you've got so far and you can't then move forward, because it might help. But it also, what this does tell me, and this is why I don't like to spend a fortune on this test, because it is going to be individual to that particular time. It doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be forever. And what it inadvertently tells me is that there is some potential leaky gut or gut permeability going on. And so not only do we need to remodulate the immune system so that it doesn't necessarily get that response, we also need to heal the gut, because it's all very well taking these foods out for a period of time in order to do that. But when you end up putting them in over a longer period of time, if we haven't healed the gut, you're going to end up in a similar situation. And also it could then aggravate other foods too. So it's really important to do that. And that's generally work that I would do with you one-to-one, because it's quite complicated, and we don't want to make out that if we take foods away from your diet, that then it's really imbalanced. So we need to keep your diet balanced, find you alternatives, alternatives that are going to be safe for vestibular migraine and migraine too, and just understand what you've got going on there. And so, like I say, a test is about £140 for over 200 foods. And then included in that, I will be reading and interpreting your results, making so advice to go forward. And then if we do need to do some extensive work in any gut healing, then we can look at doing that too, so that we really shore up that. And like I say, most food intolerances, if they're dealt with properly, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be there forever. And it doesn't necessarily mean you'll never be able to eat that food again. So I often have quite good responses with clients when we work on this level. And like I say, I can't offer you a guarantee, but hopefully you can get them in a manageable amount for you. Okay, see you in the next module.